Let me see if I can find anything like if I mean, see, you see here, everybody are able to see this, right? The second unit, the functional and non-functional requirements, I've actually given you the descriptions. I've actually gave you the examples. We had a quick introduction on what the functional and non-functional requirements for a software for software engineering are, and then the user requirements. I actually didn't show how the user requirement document is going to look like. And in this session, I'm going to show you how the user requirement document is, a sample of how the user requirement document will look like, and also how the system requirements would look like, and also a sample software requirement document as well, along with the along with next following them, like we discussed about feasible studies, like what kind of feasibility studies we are doing: economic, financial feasibility, economic feasibility, legal feasibility, technological feasibility, and what else, and uh, marketing feasibility, and all those things. We will refer them later. And then coming to the illustration, requirement illustration and analysis, we actually described about, I gave you a lot of requirement illustration techniques. I showed you all the pictorial representations and how each and every illustration technique is going to be is going to be conducted, and on what basis the business manager, or the uh, um, or the business, like who the business representative is going to be for this particular product, is going to take the decision based upon like what kind of illustration techniques they are going to take. And uh, and next, coming to the requirement validation, how the requirement validations are going to be done. I'm going to show you at that as well. And then coming to these models, I don't think I will be able to take each and everything, because model, it takes a lot of time. For each and every model, I almost spend like a class. Uh, and when it comes to model, the context models and the structure models are not being taken, are not being covered till now. And the rest of them, the behavioral model, the data model, and the object models are being taken. Like I took the example, like I took the types of model, like when it comes to behavior, like what kind of types of behavior model comes into the picture, and I explained what data models, like it took like almost a class. I don't think it would be I will be able to touch a base on these models, because if I touch a model, it's something like minimum of a class. So you see, nearly like there are 9 to 10 models if I have to cover them. So I don't think so. I'll just see. I'll just check if I've covered everything or not. See, when it comes to behavioral model, like what all are the behavioral models? For say, you can take use case diagram, you can take state chart, you can take collaboration, you can take class diagram, you can take object diagram, and what else? What else in use case? Sequence diagram, state chart diagram. So all of these models come under the behavioral model. So I've covered all of them pretty much. So they pretty much like. Um, that is being done. And then data models, like what are the data models, how you map the data, several data, how do you map them, like what are the relationships, what are the entities which are using when you're using the data models. Those things have been covered as well. And next, coming to the object models, like how many objects are you selecting, what kind of how are you trying to, again doing the same thing, like how are you using the functionalities, like trying to interconnect the objects with the functionalities and all those things. I've showed you with a nice example, and I showed you all the representations. And coming to structured methods, I didn't took it. Probably I will take the structured and the context models once you guys come back. So, and coming back to these functional, and so in this session, I'm only going to show you like how, like I'm going to touch only the top two parts: software requirements as well as requirement engineering process. So yeah, coming back again, guys, like let me see, like let me actually show you. what I was actually working on. I took some screenshots actually just to show you, just to make my work easy. So these are all the screenshots. Just wanted to make sure that I'm not missing any of them. Yeah, let me just hover over to it quickly. So yeah, this is what I was actually talking about, the functional testing, non-functional. What? Yeah, yeah, we're good. No, no worries. Yeah, the functional and non-functional requirements. You see, when it comes to functional, the very first exam in the very first difference when inputs are valid. So what are you all looking forward for? The functional part, like what functions you are using in like input, application login functions. These are all the functional aspects. So when email notifications are on, user receives a new message. You this is actually what you will actually look forward for. You want to make sure that when the notifications are on, you receive a new message. An email notification is sent. So be it like a banking application, you keep on receiving the notifications, right? Like when something when some amount is being withdrawn from your application, so from your account, you keep on receiving the notifications, right? Saying, hey, I mean, this is how much the left amount is, and if you're falling short of anything, I mean, if your account is, I mean, I don't think we have any negative see, yeah, there is nothing called as negative, right? Negative, so nothing to worry about here in the negative balance. So yeah, you see, and also you are using the conditions as well in functional testing. When JP under one MB is loaded, see when something beyond 1 MB is uploaded, so below 1 MB you won't accept it, right? So when you're trying to convert the files from PDF to JPEG or JPEG to PDF or stuff like that, probably like pictures to PDF or something like that, you actually try to upload that image file into the website, and it looks forward for the data. And if the size of the data is less, it's not going to take, right? So it's going to let you know. I mean, try to upload. I mean, try to zip it if there is a possibility. Try to zip it, or you can what you say, uh, make the whole image more I mean, you can reduce the size. That's what I was trying to say. And that is also a functionality which you actually wanted to imbibe in your product, right? So basically, and coming to the settings menu items, whenever the items are clicked, it has to display. That is also one of the requirement, functional requirement. So when you come to non-functional, you see after login, the dashboard loads within. Yeah, this is not something related to the functional. So you are not worried about how the inside, like how the internal structure is going to be. This is only related to the external part. So you see the dashboard has to load within 3 seconds. That's what you expect it to be, right? So yeah, what does it need? It needs the speed, right? So end of the day, what are you looking forward for? You're looking forward for the connectivity, right? Connectivity issues as well as network issues. If you feel like the speed is beyond par, then the dashboard is going to load within 3 seconds, right? So that's what happens. That's what you're looking forward for. Non-functional, the email notification is sent within 5 minutes. Again, the time constraint. Even for that as well, the same thing. You look for the connectivity issues. When 8 files or less are uploaded at the same time, like everything queues all, right? So when 8 files or less each under 1 MB are uploaded at the same time, it has to be like again FIFO method, right? First in, first out. So nothing has to get stuck, and then it will affect the performance of the system later. You don't want that to happen, right? Next, the settings page has a matching appearance to the rest of the GUI. Settings page has a matching appearance to the rest of the GUI. So what it says is like the setting page should also resemble. I mean the whole background, the whole layout of the setting page has to resemble that of the other applications when you're using the GUI. GUI, as you guys all know, what's GUI? It's graphic user interface, right? So that is pretty much like we covered requirements, non-functional. What else, guys? I mean, very first part, we and then I am going to show you the user requirement document, how it's going to look like, right? Just hang on, guys. Just give me a second. User requirement document. I also took the screenshot of that as well. But yeah, this is how yeah. I think everybody are able to see it clearly, right? It's also denoted as URS. You see here, example validation spreadsheet, user requirement URS. You see how a user requirement specification is going to be. See, the user, when in the beginning phase of the interaction between the user is going to send you his own point of view and like his own need, his own requirement of how his document is supposed to be like. And then he's gonna probably, like, if possible, he can also take a spreadsheet. You see here, he sends in the objectives and the scope, and you see here, this is actually the skeleton of how the URS looks like, the objectives and scope. In the scope, he's going to ask you like what are the functionalities have to be embedded in his own project. The objectives is required assure will correctly and reliably perform an intent functionality. So this is how the URS look like. And then coming up to the SRS, systems requirement document. You see here the very second part, systems requirement, how the systems requirement is going to look like. You see here, system requirement document defines the function of the business requirement. Example, the business would like a new logo to represent the business 20th anniversary in flying field. The visual will represent the captivity of years of flying. It will provide the user quality, service delivery, impact globally. Take the general business breaking into functions, quality, reviewing the primary. So this is basically what they are trying to do is like they are connecting the event in the future in the future perspective, and what they want to do is like they actually want their their website to display. When somebody looks into the website, it has to show them a nice logo, and which again, so you see here, these are all the conditions. It should provide the user quality, service delivery, and impact globally. So when also going deeper into the quality, what quality they want, that they wanted to review the primary navigation, aesthetics, and also the color scheme. You see here, this is what the person is looking forward for. And service delivery, he want a booking engine, because somebody who simply you can't jump into the event, right? You actually wanted them to, because you spending a lot on the event, you want them to pay something for you, right? So you charge them initially you charge them. So there has to be a booking engine for that, on real-time information and service delivery. And also, what else you want him? You want them to impact. So there has to be localization, server technology impact. Probably when they are trying to use the social media, advertising through social media, so they are using, they need server technology impact as well, because multiple servers have to get connected, more and more data has to be transferred, or like you try to send the invitations, you try to make the advertisements for all those stuff. He is asking for, what is he asking for? The localizations and all those. And the booking engine will consist number of functions. So definitely the booking engine will definitely have number of functions. What kind of functions? The information in real time. What functionalities you want to imbibe in those functionalities in those booking engine. That has to populate the calendar, service delivery, manage modules for marketing purposes, will distribute special dietary information to auto grill VIP session. See, everything gets sorted out, right? All sections will be sorted out. That's what this booking engine has to look like. So this is pretty much for what the SRS which the person is looking forward for in the interaction with the business manager, right? So you see here, there is a purpose, there is a scope, the document structure, acronyms, abbreviations. This is what the person want to look, want his logo, I mean his website to look like. And you see here, what is the functional purpose, interface implementation, interface testing, modeling language. See, all these things, it is not just like a document. You see here, this whole thing, the introduction, the functional purpose, functional general constraints, issues, any issues if we have, environmental, like what kind of concerns if we have any related to environmental issues, system requirement, what systems we want, like how much of like how much of the infrastructure he requires, the system requirements, and requirements, naming conventions, what kind of naming conventions he want, general, web server, primary navigation, and again booking. This is how he is going to give you the clear elaboration of what he is looking for. So SRS document is going to be this way. I mean, I'm actually giving you the sample. So that's pretty much, and rest of things I actually discussed about in detail, like what functional and non-functional before. I don't know, touch it again. System requirements, interface, that we can come to it later. SRS, I gave you the this thing, I mean, and then coming to the feasibility studies. Feasibility, I discussed about what feasibility studies are going to be and all. Like what are the requirements feasibility which you have to be looking forward for. These are all what we have discussed. In addition to this, there is something else called as legal feasibility as well, which is more related to just hang on guys, which is more related to the industrial laws and all those other parts. See, economic feasibility, there is cost benefit analysis, which is more related to the financial part of the organization. And then technical feasibility, what all you, the person, he is looking forward for his potential risk and their solution, like what kind of staff, I mean, how his staff is going to deal with the solutions which are going to, I mean, how his staff is going to affect his organization, like how the performance of staff is going to affect his organization. There is something called as performance appraisal, performance evaluation, on the basis of which he is going to take the decision of how he is going to conduct these sessions, right? Based on how he is going to plan his staff and how he is going to organize his workforce, and then try to divide the work and disseminate all those, I mean, and try to join all I mean, try to make sure that the final product is being delivered smoothly and without any hiccups. So that is what technical feasibility deals with. Operational feasibility, I actually told you what the operational feasibility is going to work upon. There is something called as shorter, I mean, cost cutting methodologies. Like you actually look forward for the you see, you select yeah, you actually pick the information based on like your resources, and for each and everything you are actually going to allot the, for each and every functionality you are going to allot the, you give the numbering, and make sure that you work on the probabilities. I mean, to make it, to actually describe it clearly, you work on the probabilities. Like if you have to travel for a journey, what are you going to look forward for? You will have to look through the roadways, like, and you can look through railways, you can look through skyways if you want to make the journey. And based on your time, your flexibility, you are going to take the decision, right? Like if even if you are moving in the local, see, if you go by uh, a two-wheeler and as well as four-wheeler, there is actually difference in time, right? So you, if you feel like you don't, I mean, you have to reach to the destination quickly, you will plan for a four-wheeler, for example, for say. So even there is a difference in the time framing, right? So and then you go for time boxing and all those stuff when it comes to operational feasibility. You see here the labor type utilization, reliable, flexible, and extendable services provision. So these are all coming under operational feasibility, schedule feasibility, estimation of timelines, and optimization of resources. So you utilize your resources and you do the optimization of the resources. Again, the scheduling part is also little related to the operational, because scheduling is something which you do it based on your based on your resources, right? So you see this person, you see you have got, for example, five employees, and you actually divide the work between all those employees, and like you try to and there is something called as scheduling. So you give them their work and then you give them the deadline and you ask them to, and you keep on checking whether those guys are meeting those deadlines. So that is what the scheduling is. So that's what is so that's what you do, because through scheduling only you can actually do the optimization, like optimum utilization of your resources. Yeah. And next coming is requirement validation techniques. So yeah, this is actually again a simple topic. So how do you validate your requirements? Like you see, just before entering into the an agreement, or like just before going into the core of the requirement, what are you going to do? You are actually going to review. There is you review the documents, like just what I showed, just what I've shown you before, the URS as well as SRS documents. They are going to be deeply reviewed and then seen if anything is falling short, and like if you feel like you understood all those requirements clearly, then you will actually probably like give your consent. And then coming to the prototyping is again the same thing, using an executable model of the system to check requirements. Yeah, yeah. When you are using prototyping is again you using an executable model. You actually execute some part of the you actually display some part of the information. It is more like encapsulating some part of the information, and you show to the client like how the part of the project is going to look like, but not the whole thing is going to look like, right? So that is how the prototyping is going to be, and that is also a kind of validation technique which is being done from the business manager point of view, but not the client. These are all requirement validations are being done by the business manager or the organization, okay, or the business. If you want me to say in one word, business. Test case generation. So what is a test case? So you develop several test cases for the requirements to check testability. Test cases can be clearly understood because in the previous sessions when I discussed about requirement traceability matrix, I elaborated a little bit on test cases. Like how are you going to gather the test cases? And you see like what test cases are going to match the what kind of requirements. Like the requirement one is test case 1, test case 2 is working on this requirement, test case 3 it might or might not be working on this requirement. This is how you analyze the test cases, right? So when it comes to automated consistency analysis, checking the consistency of the structured requirement description. Yeah, this is also more like analyzing the whole document. And if you feel like that is going to be that is what you can deal with in the future, you can then you are going to take the decision of proceeding further or not. And next, coming to the requirement illustration techniques. Requirement illustration techniques is something which I've actually I gave you a nice example of each and every method. like how the requirement illustrations are being done. The very first is like stakeholder analysis, and then coming to the brainstorming, how the brainstorming is being done, brainstorming sessions, one-on-one session, how the one-on-one sessions are. This is like a normal interview, group interview, how the group interviews are going to be conducted, document analysis, how the document analysis is being done, focus groups. Focus groups are actually discussed how particular focus groups are going to be it in an organization, be it in an organization. If you are actually trying to take the feedback of your own customers, then that is also sort of like a focus group, right? So when you're usually this focus group is going to be the size of the focus group is going to be from varying anywhere around like five members in a group. So you keep on taking the feedbacks. There can be multiple focus groups in order to make the decision making. So that's how the focus, and then comes to interface analysis, and then again observation, socialist observe. This is something. This is observation, just the basic observations. And then the prototyping. Prototyping is something which I actually discussed before, how the prototyping process is going to be done. So this is basically the requirement illustration techniques. SRS, this is URS. This is the SRS. You see here external interface requirements, user interface, UI, software interface, hardware interface, communication interface. So these are all the external interface requirements. Non-functional. What are the non-functional? Glossary, analysis model, issues list. System features. What system features is looking forward for? Description and priority, stimulus, response sequences, functional requirements and overall description, product perspective, product features, user classes and characteristics. What kind of operating environment he's using, what kind of operating systems he's using, right? Which OS is being compatible, user documentation, assumptions and dependencies, introduction. So basically introduction, what is his main purpose, what documents what is the document dealing with, conventions, what conventions, what are the intended audience, like on what is the customer base which is being looking forward for, and reading, suggestions, project scope, and then references. So this is basically how an SRS document is going to look like. And feasibility, hold on, I think something else we are actually missing on forward for. Just let me just yeah, just give me a second, guys. Yeah, so you see here, guys, the syllabus is pretty much like, yeah, even in the second chapter, the functional non-functional part is being discussed, user requirements, system requirements, yeah, and then interface specification. This I will take it later. It deals with something called as like interfaces, user interfaces, and all those things. Software requirement specifications, I actually discussed feasibility, yes, and requirement illustration and techniques and analysis, yes. Requirements validation, which we actually looked at before, like what kind of requirement validations are, prototyping and all those stuff. And requirement management, yeah, I will take requirement management part, and interface specification. This context models and structure models we can take in the next class. Behavioral models, data models, object models are already been they have been explained. And so yeah, so there are in the second unit there are actually like all little topics, guys, just 3 to 4, just a matter of another 2 classes. Context models and structured models, probably in a class, and this interface specification. And what else were we missing? Yeah, and just the interface. Yeah, probably like another two to 3 classes for this second unit. Even if they ask us to conduct the exams, probably like the mid exams, suddenly, I'm not going to ask you anything out of the syllabus. I'm going to ask you only on the part which I've actually discussed. So nothing to worry about it. So right now, I actually want you guys to focus on on the current subjects, on the second year ones and the supplies and all. So once you guys come back, hopefully, I think probably, hopefully, I think by the time you guys are actually done with your exams, and probably in the beginning of the next month, hopefully, I think they would they would actually ask everybody to attend the classes in person. Probably, that is what I am actually expecting. But you never know what how the situations will turn out, because yeah, because we cannot expect